Hello and welcome to another 5-minute 5 questions. My name is Tim Collard and I'm delighted to be joined today by Rosie McKellar, who is Vice President of Risk-Based Quality Management at Worldwide Clinical Trials. Hi Rosie, great to have you with us.
Hi Tim, thanks for the invite.
You're very welcome. So let's jump straight in and we'll ask the first question. So when the pandemic hit and lockdown was imposed, what kind of impact did that have on Worldwide?
Wow, really, it's a pretty interesting journey that we've been on, isn't it? And I was trying to think of an analogy. I'm a bit of a rugby fan, and there's a technique that's used in rugby called a rolling maul. It's when the players in a coordinated way surround the person holding the ball and drive it forward. And many times that's what it has felt like. So everybody working together to adapt and to do what we do best, which is help develop drugs that change people's lives. So it was about peers supporting each other. It was about us supporting our sites, about working with our sponsors and our vendor partners. And all of that being underpinned by clear communication from leadership and a real sense of how important every person is in the effort. So it was very collaborative, but it was also a time when innovation could flourish. So we were very fortunate to have a great global partnership with our vendors and to be able to be agile, be creative, and that definitely helped us to adapt. That also allowed us to maintain services to investigators and patients despite what has been quite a challenging operating environment. So it was about flexibility and not applying a one-size-fits-all concept, which, Worldwide, we're very proud of being able to do, to being able to flex and change. So having a different strategy for different countries, for different sites, and at different stages of a study. So, the setup of a COVID-19 study for a treatment was quite different than the approach we had to have for a study that was coming up to database lock. And likewise, what we needed for Chicago was probably quite different to what we needed for the Czech Republic. So being able to adapt and flex to all the different situations that we were encountering.
Great. Well, I like the rugby analogy, spoken like a true New Zealander. And are there any other ways that you've had to adapt your business to this new normal?
Yeah, I think there's probably a couple of things. I mean, having the fundamentals of RBQM in place has really underpinned everything that Worldwide's done. So we already knew in each study what our critical data, critical processes were and what the risks were associated with them. So because we worked from that foundation, it was about looking at the score of that risk. It was about making sure we had the right mitigations in place and adding and changing mitigations. But I think, secondly, it's become a lot more about technology. And now we can really have conversations about using the power of technology to gather subject data and use analytics to see trends and issues that perhaps were harder to have before COVID. And it's not that we were starting from a baseline. It was that it's enabling more those technologies that we already have, of making sure that there was remote access and oversight and review, and ensuring that continuity of quality at the same time minimising the impact on patients and investigators.
Right, absolutely. And what about looking forward? What are you doing at Worldwide to future-proof your trials and the trials you do for your clients?
Yeah, and I think I mean we've seen unprecedented adjustments, I think, in the world of clinical trials. So, phenomenal review and approval times from ethics committees and regulators. We've seen dramatic changes in visit management of the IP supply chains and in reporting requirements. So I think and they've flexed at different times during the crisis, and we may need to apply other ones again, as we move forward. But I think what we've done at Worldwide is we've added to our processes and tools so that we can quickly deploy to different situations as things are needed. I think I'm also really hopeful that many of the things that have been enabled in the last few months will stay with us and they'll become more standard practice. So, things like e-consent, which we already have, we will see greater use of. We'll see more chances and opportunities to do that direct to patient drug delivery, to use home nursing services that would potentially minimise the travel time and the inconvenience to patients, see more virtual site visits and more remote access to electronic medical records. And I think those are things that will stay with us as we move forward.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope that will be some kind of silver lining to what's been a
indeed
event. And what about kind of the issue? I think every company has faced challenges. What do you think are the biggest issues to our industry, and what needs to happen to overcome those?
Well, I guess a follow on from before, Tim, is that ensuring that we embed the changes and we find new ways to develop drugs more quickly. I also think there's a huge opportunity to embrace the new visibility that our industry's got in a very positive way. We are a conservative industry, and we should be, because it's health and safety of patients. But I think there's some opportunities in this that as an industry we could embrace. And it almost feels like this has helped us turn a corner. And I'm really excited about some of the conversations that I'm now having about how we monitor trials going forward. That said, it still will take change and take time, but I think we've been given some impetus that perhaps is, as you said before, the silver lining that comes out of this.
Right. And last question. I think we've all probably learned a bit about ourselves over the last few months. What have you learned about yourself as a leader and about your organisation as a whole?
Well, I think, at a very personal level, it's about that realisation that we're living through history, and wasn't something I expected. But from a more professional perspective, I think I've always been pretty comfortable with change, and I have to remind myself not everybody's worked in the same, with the same concepts as I have for as long as I have. So reminding myself that I'm bringing other people along with me. But it is great that we're now, for those people who were a bit nervous about RBM when it was first talked about back in 2011, still perhaps didn't fully embrace it in 2016 when E6 changed. We've now got it. We've seen it, many of these things in practice, and I think it's exciting to see that we're able to embrace those changes and more, because there will be more that will come. Yeah. If I think about it from an organisational perspective, I think Worldwide's core mission is about passion and purpose, and working every day to improve patients' lives, and that has been never been more important than it has been in the last few months. And taking a flexible and adaptive approach that was really evident. So right at the beginning, we set up an executive council comprised of leadership from all the functional areas across the globe, and they met daily to discuss and proactively plan for the global issues, but also right down to the very granular local issues. That underpinned by that clear communication and making every individual feel that they were valued for their contribution. It's been astounding to see the depths that people could draw on to do some incredible things within our business. So, you're working from home, you're not used to doing that, you've got your children, you're homeschooling, and that's quite a juggling act to carry. And yet the work's got done, and it's been done at pace in many situations. So it's been a phenomenal time to really work with the group of people that I've worked with.
Yeah, well, I think in times like this, you learn a lot about yourself and about your company, and it sounds like you're really stepping up to the plate. So great stuff. Rosie, that was great. Really interesting to talk with you. Do appreciate your time, and thanks for joining us. And we'll talk again soon. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Tim.